trying to figure out how to get this in full screen. The piece of shit editing software that I have, when I rotate it, it cuts off like half the screen, and then I have to like crop it. It's just fucking garbage. But anyway, I'd like to start off by telling everybody that I fucking hate you. Anyway, so my skit ideas, right? So what I'm gonna do, we're gonna do these fucking, first off, I'm gonna do this thing that I call joke jobs. I don't want to give away any secrets actually about that. I'm going to intentionally get fired from jobs on my first day of work. But anyway, and it's gonna be funny. So anyway, so my skits. The first one, I have to record this and put it up on YouTube. For those of you who are on my Facebook page, you already know. But so, anyway, so the storyline starts out. I come home from work, and my wife, Margaret, she's fucking. It's our honeymoon, right? Now, Margaret is, you know, somebody that nobody on God's green earth could get an erection to. You know, like a refrigerator-sized Walmart. So anyway, so I come home from work, and Margaret's like, "Hey, did you forget something?" And I'm like, "Oh, what did I forget now?" And she's like, "It's our anniversary." And I'm like, "No, I didn't forget that. I'm taking you out to dinner." Had no idea. So anyway, we hop in the truck, we're driving down the road, and all of a sudden I see this bar, right? And there's a sign out that says free beer, and then a bunch of little tiny letters that I can't read, right? It's like, you know, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm tired of shit, I want to get drunk, and I gotta do something. So anyway, I take Margaret into this bar, right? And the waitress comes up, and she's like, "Hey, what do I have? What do you have?" And I say, "Oh, I'm here for the free beer." And she's like, "Oh, you're here for the speed dating event." And I was like, "Speed dating?" She's like, yeah, they're having a speed dating event. If you join it, you get free beer." And I'm like, "Fuck." And then they're gonna make a commercial at the end, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, "Well, I guess I'm going speed dating." On our honeymoon, right? So the whole time, I'm hopping from fucking table to table to table, listening to women just yap, 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 yap. Margaret is sitting there watching. So I get drunker and fuck off all this free beer, right? I'm getting like 4 or 5 beers per table I'm sitting at, right? Just listening to women just yap, 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 yap. And so at the end of it, she's like, so I sit down back with Margaret, and I'm completely fucking wasted. And she's like, "Well, that was fun. I guess we'll go home." So we start heading out towards the front door, and I still got my name tag on. We open up the front door, and there's a camera staring right at us. And there's a guy with a microphone, and he's like, "Hey, in this story, my name is Ron. Hey, Ron, who you leaving with tonight?" oh, this is Margaret. And it's like, some fucking like 400-pound fucking monstrosity. And so anyway, he was like, oh, what made you decide to leave with Margaret tonight? And I looked dead into the camera on national television and I say, well, I got to dump my nuts into something. So anyway, that's skit number 1, right? Skit number 2 is there's a feminist convention going on. And, okay, how this starts is there's a guy in Walmart and he's got a t-shirt with my face on it, right? And I'm screaming at the crowd as I'm getting ripped off the stage on this t-shirt. And this guy's like, holy shit, you know that? Or holy shit, you watch that guy too? And they're like, yeah, man, he's fucking hilarious. And then he pulls up a video, and the video is of me standing in front of 3,000 women congregating at this fucking women's rights fucking, I don't know, some bullshit. And I'm like, it's dead silence. They're all staring at me, and I look at all of them in the face, and I say, one drunk man is more intelligent than 3 sober women. And everybody's just fucking throwing shit up on stage, coming after me and shit. So anyway, that's the short little video that I'm not going to give away all my secrets, but that leads up to something fucking huge, and it's hilarious. But if I tell everybody that, somebody's going to steal my idea. So anyway, what else? I'm trying to figure out some other ones that I can tell you guys without giving everything away. So these joke jobs, I will inform you about this. So for those of you who know what happens when you dump ice in an into a fryer, like where you cook fries, a fire erupts. What else? While I have the time, I guess we could do a story time with Uncle Stitches. This is a story that I've told a couple of times, but I want there to be memory of this. Because there's gonna come a point when the statute of limitations is over with, and I can tell you guys everything. So, Blueberry Hill Apartments, right? Leesburg, Florida, off of CR something and 441. So this was a very different time in my life. I was in a dark place. Okay? So I had this next door neighbor. Her name was Vicky. Vicky was bedridden, and she would order pizza, and when she ordered pizza, it was like fucking 7 pizzas at a time, right? Large ones. And at the time, Domino's had that fucking $7.99 deal, right? So, her family, That's how I caught that. Her family was trying to get her to lose weight, so they made her, the landlord said it was okay. There was an island that they filled with flowers. And in this island, they, in rocks, wrote out the Garden of Hope. And that was to try and lure Vicky outside to take care of these flowers, right? Now, when I first moved in, I was happy that anybody accepted me. I mean, I had no fucking history. My credit was shit. Fucking, I'd made a lot of mistakes in my life. And so anyway, Blueberry Hill accepts me because my rent was $3.99 a month. If you fuck that up, man, you're fucked. But anyway, so I had no idea who Vicky was. They put me into an apartment. I fucking moved right in. Had no idea who she was until the police started knocking on my door. So every time Vicky would hear a noise, she would just call the cops and say, "Oh, it's the next door neighbor." And this got very, very annoying. And I'll tell you the other side of this story that's playing out while this is going on. I walked out to my truck one day and I was smoking a cigarette, and this guy, his name was Mark Bass, approached me and asked me for a cigarette. This is how I met Mark Bass. So I gave him one and we got to talking, right? I realized that you know, Mark starts telling me, hey, you know, he's a 38-year-old man, right? And he looks dead on, just like Bruce Willis. Dead on, just like him. And bald and everything. and got that fuck you look on his face too. So anyway, so he's telling me that he's going through a divorce. He used to be a football coach for Leesburg High School. And he's lost everything. He's lost his wife, his kids. He's got to pay alimony. He's trying to find a job. He's struggling like a motherfucker. Da 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 da. So I came up with a solution for Mark. I had a girlfriend, right? Her name was Jessica. And so, hang on. Somebody called me, so I hung up the phone because sometimes it interrupts the recording. So I had a girlfriend. Her name was Jessica. Now, there were some things that were going on that I didn't want the world to fucking know about. And my next door neighbor kept calling the cops and sending them over to my apartment. And now, suddenly I realized why my apartment was vacant, right? So, the cops show up at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to give you some examples. They show up at 2 o'clock in the morning and knock on my door and wake me up and tell me that I was driving drunk and doing donuts on my neighbor's lawn. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? I just woke up. And sure as shit, I look over at Vicky's fucking little front area and it is completely tore to shit. Somebody did a shit ton of fucking donuts. So, the cops go over to my Chevrolet S10. They look at my tires. They see they're slim as fuck. They go over and look at the tire tracks that are in there and see they're like 2 or 3 times as wide. Obviously, it's not the same truck because they did a burnout going into the fucking donuts, right? At this point in time, I could not just randomly have police officers knocking on my door. This was a very, very stressful time in my life. So, things weren't going so well with Jessica. But she was around still at the time, but she was like, you know, I kicked her out of the house 12 times, right? 12 fucking times she came crawling back. So, I like she told me she was pregnant, and I felt bad for her. I brought her back in and found out she wasn't pregnant. And then she wanted to have sex with me, and I found out that she's not taking her birth control. And I'm like, no. Kept kicking her out. She kept coming back. Da-da-da-da-da. Shit like that. So, fucking one day, I had to deal with Vicky, right? Vicky, she kept calling the police on me. Every time somebody would turn on their radio a little too loud and 10:01 rolled around, like there were people that had campfires and shit outside and they were just listening to the radio. Fucking Sublime was on and everybody was smoking a doobie. Who gives a fuck? Well, she had a problem with it and she would call the police and they would show up at my front fucking door. Every fucking time. So I couldn't stand it anymore. I had to deal with this. I had to put an end to it. So here's where my ingenuity comes in. And I'll tell you in a minute what's going on so that you understand why I can't afford to have the police knocking on my fucking door every other time I turn around. So anyway, I took a 5-gallon can of gasoline, premium gas. I wanted to make sure this was gonna work, right? And I went over to Vicky's Garden of Hope and I fucking just dumped it all over everything. I murdered her hope. I took away everything from her, right? So it took like 2 days. I mean, things started dying in the morning, but the big bushes and shit, it took like 2 days before they started turning brown. And before you know it, that entire island of flowers is just a desolate, shattered fucking hope. It's destroyed. I fucking wrecked everything. So Vicky calls the cops, right? They show up at my door and they ask me if I killed her plants and that there's $15,000 worth of plants there. I had no idea plants costed that much. I totally clueless. She had a staghorn and shit. Anyway, so I told him, dude, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have time. Like, look at the history, man. You know, before I even showed up here, she was calling the cops on her neighbors for other bullshit. And now I'm here, and now she's calling the cops on me. It's fucking ridiculous, dude. I can't take this shit anymore. Like, mentally, I cannot fucking handle this. So, anyway, they were like, well, you willing to write a statement stating that you didn't because she's trying to press charges? I was like, abso-fucking-lutely. They handed me a piece of paper. I wrote, I didn't do it. Signed my name. Gave it to the police officer. So, here's where things get dark. I had an idea, right? Now, it's illegal to go cut off a corpse's head and put it in somebody's mailbox. You can't. I asked, and I was told, no, you can't do that. Anyway, so I found a butchery off of CR 33. Well, it was off of CR 33 and 48, somewhere around the Okahumpka area. Somewhere around that area, somewhere down there, there's this big-ass fucking butchery. And I stopped in there one day before work. So I go in there, and there's all this meat lined up on the glass window. So I get to talking to the guy, and he's like, what are you looking for, man? And I was like, well, something special, something unique. And he's like, oh, he's like, looking for like a specific cut of bacon or a specific cut of steak, or, you know, where you want ribeyes extra thick or something like that. Because they can prepare it for you right then and there. And I told him, I need a head. And it was a very awkward conversation. I'll tell you that much. And he was like, oh, for like a display? And I was like, yeah, a display. You know, and I'm thinking in my head, yeah, I'm gonna display my hatred. But and then it hit me. Fucking in Looney Tunes, you always see the pig's head with the fucking tomato stuffed in its mouth. Perfect. I need a pig's head. That's what I told him. I need a pig's head. So he shows me a myriad of pig's head on this fucking rack that he pulls out. And I found one the perfect size. I found one in a it couldn't have been a more perfect size. So I get this pig's head, I put it in my truck, I drive to work, I got it in this fucking like green duffel bag, and I throw it in the freezer at work. And the whole time I'm at work, I'm thinking, oh my God, somebody's gonna find it. Oh my God, somebody's gonna find it. Oh my God, somebody's gonna find it. And my supervisor would go into the walk-in cooler. And he'd disappear for like 10 minutes. And I'm like, fuck, I'm fucked. They're gonna fire me. I'm gonna lose my fucking job. Da, 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 da. You know, I'm just freaking the fuck out. So, midnight rolls around and it's time for me to go home. And my bag is still sitting in there untouched. The stars aligned. It's like God wanted me to have this opportunity, right? So, 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm back at the house with my duffel bag and a frozen pig's head. And this pig's head was perfect because it fit inside of Vicky's mailbox. And that's exactly where I put it. Now, for 2 days, in 110 degree Florida sun, you can imagine how badly that thing fucking stunk. It was baking in her mailbox. And I realized she's not coming out to her mailbox. So I went out there and I flicked the flag up, right? It was like 4 hours later, right? And Jessica was with me at the time. And Vicky comes out on her little walker, just fucking 20 minutes a step, huffing and puffing and looking around in her little fucking bull dyke, short ass haircut. And she makes her way to the mailbox. Now at this moment, I am standing in the window, looking through the blinds, like spread open the blinds big enough for her to see my entire fucking face. And I say, Jess, come here. You gotta look at this. And she comes over and she's looking at the window. And Vicky is standing there in front of her mailbox. And she looks down, then she looks up, and she kind of looks around, and then she opens up her fucking mailbox. Instantly, she goes, yeah, just fucking pukes all over the place, right? And as soon as she looks up, I'm staring in the window going, ah, like that. In the like, I know she could hear me laughing at her through the window. and Jess had this big old fucking smile. She was laughing her ass off too. So it was obvious who did it, right? And I thought for sure Vicky was going to call the police on me. I thought for sure. However, the police never showed up. And it was at that moment that I realized that Vicky was done calling the police on me because there were ramifications when she did. Now, one lesson that I will teach all of you is that nobody cares when it's not their problem. I want you to remember this phrase. Nobody cares when it's not their problem. So sometimes you have to make it their problem. And that's the phrase. So as things are happening to you throughout your life, you're going to realize that nobody cares when it's not their problem. Your boss doesn't care when you're driving for 16 hours a fucking day because he goes home at 5 o'clock and he sits in the AC all day. He doesn't give a fuck. So sometimes you have to make it their problem. You know, if it bothers you enough, I'm able to live a life. Yeah, I work a shit ton of hours, but fucking A, dude, I live a life. You know what I mean? I can buy any knife I want. I can order sushi anytime and not have to worry about it. I can buy a Harley Davidson and not even have to think about it. Not have to budget out sandwiches and shit. I'm living okay, right? And the trade-off is sometimes I gotta work my ass off, and I'm okay with that. But I want you to remember that nobody cares when it's not their problem. So sometimes you have to make it their problem, right? When they tell you that you got to be on call on Christmas Eve and they're going to be home with their family and your customer's going to be home with their family, but they have one clogged toilet out of 4 toilets and they're demanding that you come out and take care of it now, sure, I will oblige. My price for that is $4,000. And I expect the company that I work for to stand behind my decision when I do that. You have to equalize things. So, for example, client doesn't care. They're not the one who has to leave their family for Christmas, right? Okay, well, that's going to cost you $4,000. And that's how I've made it their problem. See how that evens out? So anyway, I hope that works for you guys, because that's been a huge part of my life since I was young, including in this story. Now, we're going to get to Mark Bass. The reason why I cannot fucking deal with police knocking on my door 24/7. I'm going to give you part of the reason. So Mark needed money. Mark's a full-grown man, right? Now, I don't know why he's having a hard time finding a job. I never really looked into it. It was a little too late. But the way that he approached me, as I was walking out to my truck one day, and he was like, "Hey, man, you got $50 I could borrow?" A grown man asking an 18, or I think I was 19 at the time, 19-year-old that question. So I gave it to him because he was starving. And I went over to his apartment and I found out that what he used to buy that $50, what he spent that $50 on was moon pies and soda. At the time, you could buy a whole box of moon pies for $1 at the dollar store. And he had like 13 boxes of them. And he was planning on living off of that for the next week. That is when I realized who it was that I was dealing with, right? Now, I had developed enemies. My girlfriend, who was constantly being kicked out of the house, was staying with other people, telling them what a horrible person I am. And for the most part, she was right about that, about a lot of things. But, she was using me for a free place to stay, and I fucking knew it. Everybody knew it. My parents knew it. She's like, "Oh, we're going to get married." And I was like, "No, the fuck, we're not." And then I made her cry because I told her no. But because I knew she was using me for a free place to stay. I can't tell you what goes through my mind, right? I just, fuck it. So, Mark Bass is, he needs some money, right? And I have enemies. And one of my enemies works in a gas station pretty much right across the intersection of CR 22 or something. Oh, no, it's 44. 44 and CR 441. There's a couple of gas stations in that area. And somebody that I am not a fan of works at one of those, right? He's a manager, an overnight manager. And a lot of the times he works by himself, right? Now this is a guy that, don't worry about why I'm pissed at this guy, it doesn't matter. Was upset, mildly. So anyway, Mark needed money. And I was like, look, I need you to do something for me. And he's like, anything at all. I was like, okay. There's this guy that's been kind of fucking shit up for me, and I'm not happy about it. And I told Mark what was going on. I told him the truth. And Mark was like, I'll help you out, man. You know, we were sitting in his living room. I brought a bottle of Evan Williams over, and we were taking shots and smoking cigarettes and talking about this, right? I was trying to relax. So, not to mention, the chick that I've been kicking out of my house several times has all kinds of information on me from shit that I've done to Vicky. Right? So you got to be careful about vengeance on these things. You know, you have to be very precise and very calculated on how you handle situations. So I told Mark, I was like, look, I'm going to help you out, but I need you to do something for me. And he's like, what's that? And I was like, I want you to walk into this gas station with a baseball bat, and I don't want you to steal anything. I want you to go in there, and I want you to bash the fuck out of everything. And then when you're done, I want you to bring me his shirt with his name tag on it. The shirt that he's wearing. The manager's shirt. The guy that's standing behind the counter. I want that one. With his name tag. So, anything could have gone wrong, right? And I can't tell you what it felt like watching everything go right. So, I get a text message. No. I got a phone call. And Mark was like, hey man, I'm getting ready to go do this thing. He's like, you want to meet me down there? You want to watch? I was like, no, I'm good, man. I'm not going to be home. So I walked down to the gas station, right? I'm sitting there smoking a cigar in the fucking woods. Across the street. And Mark's truck pulls up. It's a white Colorado. Mark's truck pulls up. He gets out. I see his door open. I see he's got his back turned and he's walking towards the front door with a fucking baseball bat in his hand. And I'm like, oh my God, it's finally happening. And so Mark opens up the door and he stares at the clerk, and the clerk's staring right at him, and they say something. And Mark's just like, boom! Just fucking knocks this whole display of chips over. Then he goes over to the fucking cooler. Boom! Bashes out a whole fucking refrigerator door. This is glass going fucking everywhere. The guy behind the counter starts freaking out and runs over to him. And Mark grabs his shirt like this and goes and rips it open and pulls it off of him and pushes him down. And then Mark comes out, gets in his truck, and he drives off. I can't tell you what that felt like. That felt like the 4th of July for the first time I've ever seen it. Oh, it felt amazing. My soul had been filled. All my dreams had unfolded before me. It was a very special moment for me. I can't tell you how proud I was of Mark for doing that. So, about 4 hours later, I get another phone call from Mark. I'm like, hey man, what's up? He's like, it's done. And I was like, well, head on over whenever you can, man. We'll celebrate. Click. Fucking Mark shows up at the front door. He's like, I got a present for you, bud. And I was like, what's that? And he pulls out the t-shirt with his fucking name on it. I was like, Mark, you gotta come in, man. Let's have a drink. Let's celebrate. He's like, what are we celebrating? So I gave Mark $250. I gave him a bottle of Jack Daniels, and I let him drink out of my Jack Daniels. And all I said to him was, welcome to the family. Right? and I thought that there were going to be more instances where I was going to need Mark for these types of things. So anyway, I came to the realization that Mark was an adult man trying to pay his bills because of the situation that he's been put in from divorce. He is a very, very hungry person, right? So I need to figure out a way to feed Mark. So I came up with this idea. Now, the things that were happening with my ex-girlfriend had stopped. Radio silence stopped. And I got the idea that I was going to start selling cigarettes, right? So I had a little bit of dough. I told everybody I was going to title this video, "You're Never Going to Believe What I Did with 50 Bucks." Because 50 bucks is how I met Mark Bass. And this is what became of it. So, so I tell Mark, look, you obviously have a knack for going into gas stations and fucking shit up, right? He's like, yeah, man, anytime. I was like, okay, well, I got a little laundry list that I want you to take care of. And in that laundry list was like 3 cartons of Marlboro Reds, 3 cartons of Cool Milds, 3 cartons of this, that, and the other. I gave him a laundry list of cartons of cigarettes that I wanted him to go rip off from a gas station. And I told him, I was like, look, you bring me these, and it was a kind of a big list. I mean, there must have been at least 35 cartons of cigarettes that I was wanting. I was like, look, man, you bring me this, and we're going to start a business together. You know, we're things are going to be okay. You don't have to worry about paying your rent no more. He's like, okay. Saturday rolls around, and I see Mark's truck leave. Now, Mark's truck leaving is a special event because gasoline was not cheap at the time. So, I get this call at 3 o'clock in the morning, and it's Mark. He's like, hey man, I got your cigarettes, dude. I was like, that's how I caught that. Look at that. He's like, hey man, I got your cigarettes, dude, I'm on the way. I'm like, okay, sweet man, hell yeah. So, Mark shows up with a cardboard box filled with cigarettes. Almost not a single fucking carton of cigarettes was a carton of cigarettes that I had asked for. You know, I was asking for Marlboro Reds and shit, and some menthols and some Newports and shit. because I knew that I could sell those at work. He shows up with fucking Virginia Slims and fucking Misties and Capris and shit. Now I gotta find a whole new clientele. And let me tell you, I do not have a myriad of women that I hang out with, right? So I tell Mark, look, it is imperative that you get what was on that list. I need you to focus. I need you to go back out there, get me what's on that list, and bring it back. That's all you got to do. He's like, okay. So I give Mark $100 for gas, and Mark disappears, right? Keep in mind, this is what divorce does to a grown man. All right? So Mark comes back, and he's got almost everything that I asked for, with the exclusion of some things, but it was made up for with Marlboro Reds and shit that I knew that I could sell. So at the time, cartons were $80 a carton in Florida. I was selling them for like 50, 40 if they were my friend. And I was paying Mark, at the time I was paying him $10 a carton, but I gave him a raise later on down the line. So Mark made $350 in one weekend. That's almost enough to pay his fucking rent, right? Now I had some other things that I wanted done that Mark could make his rent for $399. So I now have control over basically a hitman Mark was on meth. He was a drug addict. I mean, at this point in his life, nothing mattered anyway, you know what I mean? So you might as well go have some fun. I guess that's what he was thinking. So, it got to the point where Mark was making about $2,000 a week off of me. And I had people from church trying to buy cigarettes off me out in the parking lot. I couldn't go to work without people, oh my God, man, here's $50. You got any Marlboro? As soon as I pulled up from work, my trunk was empty. The supervisors were buying off. Everybody was fucking buying off of me, right? $50 a carton, man. Hell of a deal. And hell, I even got my mom cigarettes, man. She smoked Doral Menthol Light 100s at the time. What a great son I turned out to be, right? So, all of a sudden, and I'll tell you how this ended. And this went on for a while. But how this ended was, one of the clients, one of the customers, for no reason at all, and nobody does this. When you buy a pack of cigarettes, you open up that pack of cigarettes and you smoke those cigarettes. And then you throw that pack of cigarettes in the trash when you're done, when they're all gone. Somebody looked at the bottom of the cigarette pack and said, hey, how come these are from Georgia and the ones you gave me last week were from Tennessee? I knew that it had to come to an end, right? That was my sign to end it. The story with Mark Bass does not end at this point. There are many, many, many things that happen with Mark. But the cigarettes ended. So there's a statute of limitations that I gotta wait for. It's hilarious. You will laugh, I promise. But when that statute of limitations is over with, I'm going to be telling you all about it. I have to be kind of, so I'm giving you Mark Bass's name. Mark Bass has passed away. There is no chasing Mark Bass. He died a long time ago. So anyway, I want to put this story up. I want to hear you guys tell me what you think in the comments, if I should continue or not. And I want you to hit like and subscribe, you stupid fucker. No, I'm just fucking with you. But, dude, seriously, subscribe, man. Quit being a bitch. I get all these fucking views and nobody hits the like button, man. Fuck you. So anyway, all right, guys. I'm going to go ahead and put this story up. I'm not taking it down. Anyway, y'all have a good night, and we'll catch you later. Peace. Ooh, you know what? Let me end it off in a Van Gogh, man. One more time. There we go. Always got to end it in a Van Gogh. All right, guys. Peace.